Okay, so here's my Thanksgiving message for this year. I'm actually grateful for the fact that I'm transgender, which might sound like a radical thing to say in this day and age, but I think it's made me a better person, and I'll explain what I mean. You have to remember that there's always been some group in society that gets scapegoated. It seems like there's maybe a fundamental human need to have someone to scapegoat and to feel better than. So watch a movie like Mississippi Burning, for example. Great movie. Tells the story of the civil rights workers who were murdered in Mississippi for trying to help Black people vote. And the movie has all these interviews or footage of interviews with white people explaining their twisted rationalizations for why they felt the way that they did and had the political opinions they have regarding Black people.
The Negroes are just as free as we are. They have the same opportunity to work and to build their part of the town up just the same as we have.
Well, I sure don't like it, that's for sure.
I see. Do you feel this will have any effect on your life directly?
I imagine it will.
Thank you very much.
I'm afraid we might have niggers to live next door to.
They'd be like, well, this person, Black people, they don't bathe, they're dirty, they have diseases and so forth, which sounds crazy to us now, but to conservative-minded people and other white Southerners back then, that sounded like a logical, reasonable thing, and if you disagreed with them, they would think that you were woke, or whatever term they used to mean woke back then. When you jump forward to say the 1970s, 1980s, it was the gay rights movement, and then there was a lot of vitriol, social vitriol directed towards gay and lesbian people at the time.
Most Americans are repelled by the mere notion of homosexuality. 2 out of 3 Americans look upon homosexuals with disgust, discomfort, or fear.
There was a lot of fear-mongering. There was this attempt to bar gay people from even being school teachers, that sort of thing. Plus people were worried about it having some effect on their children, gay people being predators against children. It's so interesting how the more things change, the more they stay the same.
We are going to restore morality to the classroom and remove blatant homosexuals from influencing and teaching our young.
In 1978, gay people in California faced a dire threat.
Now it's something called Proposition 6, the Briggs Initiative.
John Briggs is going to fire every gay and lesbian school teacher in this.
And it's probably going to get me in some trouble to say this, but I 100% believe that the modern LGBT trans movement is an extension of the earlier gay rights movement. I think for so many years after the earlier gay liberation movement, society sort of begrudgingly began to accept the idea of, say, a man being gay, so long as he was not too feminine and not too flamboyant. There was this sort of unspoken thing where society had pretended that, okay, it's okay if you're gay, but just be like other men. I think the reality is that there's a lot of very feminine gay men.
So sorry.
I have seen so many gay men with very short haircuts who have all these feminine tendencies, and I'll literally watch them and see them brushing an invisible side bang out of their face or tucking an invisible, because honey, is a woman up in there, okay? That's why they're doing that. There's this one gay guy that I knew who was who I would catch doing that. He's 50-something, 40 or 50-something years old. And he even admitted that whenever he was younger that he thought about transitioning, and but he ultimately was scared of getting didn't know if he wanted to get a sex change operation. He was afraid of his family rejecting him, and so he just stayed a gay man. I noticed that he doesn't put any effort into his appearance. He's unhappy in a lot of ways, and I've always wondered if he'd been allowed to transition, if it had been socially acceptable or just something that people talked about more often when he was younger, maybe he would have gone through with it, and maybe he'd be a little happier for it. I actually think, and this is going to get me in some trouble for saying this, that I think the fight now is to push the needle forward on society accepting all of us, not just the parts of us that they are less uncomfortable with or that are less taboo. Which leads me to my overall point, no matter which minority group, which stigmatized group in society, I think the amount of vitriol and hostility that you experience in life, it can make you either a very bitter, angry person, or it can kind of humble you and help you to be more empathetic about what other people go through. There's different types of people in this world, and everyone suffers to some extent, but I think that a lot of people take their suffering out on others and look for scapegoats. So you can go down that path, or you can go down the path of recognizing the pain that you've experienced because of how you've been treated, and try and treat other people with empathy and compassion, because you know what it's like to not be treated with empathy and compassion, okay? I'm lately having to remind myself not to let everything that's going on in the country right now make me a negative person or a hateful person. Doesn't mean I'm going to let people walk all over me, but I'm also not going to let them turn me into someone who is so distracted by the negativity in the world that I can't see the beauty, I can't see what makes us all human, and find happiness in my interactions, my human interactions with others. Being someone who tries to encourage and uplift people that I meet in my daily life. Because trying to be that presence for other people not only helps them, it also helps you as human beings. I think we need that. We need that connection with each other. Even those little small pieces of love from one another is a very important part of the human experience. And so if you let yourself become so distracted by the negativity, so beat down by it, you start missing out on having those human experiences. And I think that my own particular path in life of being trans and not having everything handed to me, not having everything be easy, that is what helped me to see that. And I think for other people, it's different things. Maybe people that have had drug addictions, people that were maybe had a lot of family issues, whatever it is that caused you some sort of suffering in life, use that to be a better person. Even though not every person in this world is going to try to be empathetic and compassionate, those of us who do try make a difference when it matters. So never give up on that. That is what I have to remind myself, and it's what I'm reminding you all. And that's my message.